Welcome back everyone. So far we have covered almost all the features needed for a web application. Now the only thing left is to develop the export feature. Now we will see how to export a CSV file. So let's get started. So our plan is that we will export this client list as a CSV file. Although developing this feature is not very complex and you will understand it very easily. So let's go back to the code editor. Since the client list is shown on the home page, we should work from the home page first. Right? So let's first create a button. I copied the above code for my convenience. And name the button Export as CSV. So let's take a look and see if the button is showing properly. Reload the web browser. You see our export button is showing. Now we need to work on this button to export this client list as the CSV file. Okay. Let's go back to the code editor. So we will first define a URL action for this export button. So here I am writing export_CSV as the URL action name. So now let's go to the views file and define a function called export_CSV. And as usual, we pass the request parameter. So before we move forward, we need to import two packages. Let's import the packages we need. First we will import the CSV package. So, type import CSV. Now we are going to import HTTP response package. For this, type from django.http then import HTTP response. This is actually Django built-in package library. Now let's go back to the export CSV function and start writing the functionality to export the CSV file. Now inside our export CSV function, let's define an object reference called response. This response will basically act as an object reference for the HTTP response. Now we need to define the content type inside the parentheses. So type content_type equals text/CSV. Here text/CSV must be written inside the quotation marks. Now we need to define the content disposition header in the response array. Here content disposition will basically request the browser to download a file. Now type $sign and inside the quotation marks write attachment then put a comma after that type filename equals clients.csv. If I explain it in a little more detail, it will become clearer to you. First, we created an HTTP response object with its content type set to text/CSV. Then, we set the content disposition header to attachment. Filename equals clients.csv. This tells the browser to download the file as an attachment with the specified file name. And finally, we use Python's built-in CSV module to write data to the response. We are now going to write the data to the CSV file. So I am maintaining a comment for this. Actually, maintaining comments is a good practice. So here I first define an object called writer. And set the appropriate content type for the response and use csv.writer to write the data to the response. So write response inside the parentheses. Now we will define the header for the CSV file that we will export. In other words, we will define what column headers will be in the CSV file. So type writer.writeRow. And we define the table columns we want to export by defining an array inside parentheses. So let's see what columns we can consider from the model class. From here you can consider the full name, email address, phone number and city fields. Okay. So, first I'm taking full name. Then I take the email address. Next, let's consider the phone number field. And finally, consider the city field. You can also consider other fields if you want. Now we need to fetch the client data according to the fields we considered. So let's create an object reference called client_data, and we will get all the client data and assign it. Now we need to run a for loop on this client data because each client's data needs to be set in a row in the CSV file. So inside the for loop, let's set a row for each client and define the fields that need to be set with the data. So type writer.writeRow and then set the client fields inside the parentheses. It is important to note here that the fields that we considered above as the header of the CSV file must be aligned with the fields. Otherwise, the column header will not match the column data. So I will first take client.fullname and then take client.email and similarly take the rest of the fields. I hope you understand. Now take client.phone. And finally bring the city. So type client.city. OK. Now we need a return statement, where we will return response. So, type return response. OK, we're almost done. But we have one more thing to do. That is, we need to define the export_CSV function as the action in the urls.py file. So let's define it. I copied this register path statement for my convenience and pasted on the very last line. Here you see that I have defined this export_CSV action function here in views file. And through the URLs file it will be called from the export as CSV button defined on the home page. So let's go to the URLs file and write the export_CSV action URL in the URLs file. You already know about this. Still, I explained it in case anyone has any confusion. So our work is done, now it's time to test. Here you see our exported CSV file is supposed to be downloaded as client.csv. So let's test now to see if everything is working according to our plan. OK. Let's reload the browser first. Now click the Export as CSV button. Great. Here you see our CSV file has been downloaded as the client.csv file. Now, let's open this CSV file. Wow! We are seeing our client data here. Great, we were able to successfully export the CSV file. So that's it for today. So in the next tutorial we will export the client list as PDF. Stay connected with me because more real-life project tutorials on machine learning, AI, deep learning, data analysis, and data engineering are coming very soon. Thank you for now, see you in our next tutorial.